Well, with 5 minutes to go to the end of the halftime, that game between Ghana and Egypt, no goals have been scored yet, but my colleague Daniel Koranteng has been exploring the weaknesses that he has identified in the Egyptian side and suggesting things that the Black Stars could do to exploit those weaknesses to their advantage.
Our opposition, who we are going to face, and I want us to focus on their star player. Because what we've seen Egypt do over the years is to play a system that will allow Mohamed Salah to thrive. And Mohamed Salah, we know over the years, has his profile, not necessarily his profile, but his output and how he's used has changed over time. So he started out as an out-and-out winger. Over time, he came inside, was just a pure goal scorer. In the past 2-3 seasons, he's now become a very good creative player, a provider as well as a scorer. So what Egypt have done this time is, in as much as on paper we see it as a 4-3-3, with Salah playing on the right-hand side, Salah is not operating on the wings. So let's just look at his pass map for the game against, this was a game against Mozambique. Okay, let's go here. Great. So the number 10 is Salah. This is basically his average position in the game against Mozambique. And what we see, this is a pass map and an average position chart. So on paper, you see the number 25, who is Zizou, play around these areas.
Okay.
But when they have possession of the ball, Zizou moves onto the right wing. He offers the width, allowing Salah to play in sort of a number 10 or a half-9 role. So on the ball, when Egypt have possession, they almost have like 4 attackers. And for me, in as much as that is a plus, it's also a minus, because then it reduces the number of players they have in the middle areas, which can be dangerous. And I'll take you to a video that shows how we can punish them when they do that. So, and if you know the Egypt head coach, he sticks to his principles. This is how they've played throughout the qualifiers. This is how they played against Mozambique. You don't expect him to change it against Ghana, especially when it works most of the time. So Zizou, who is an attacking midfielder, if he's asked to play in his favorite position, because of how Salah has evolved over time, they will be operating in the same zone. So he's allowed Zizou on the ball, when Egypt have the ball, to move on to the right-hand side, to offer that width, and then Salah tucks in a bit closer to Mustafa Mohamed. So this is basically the average positioning of Egypt against Mozambique. And because they had possession of the ball, look at how high the line is. They are almost at the center line. And this is Abdul Mumin and Hegazi, 2 center-backs who lack pace. So then again, that is something I'll go to when I'm talking about the Black Stars and how we can hurt them. The 2 central midfielders in Mohamed El Neni and then Fatih also lack pace. They don't have that progressive ability. So a lot of Egypt's creativity comes within the front 4. And then you see the numerous combinations between the front 4. This is Trezeguet, this is Mustafa Mohamed, this is Salah. And if you look at Mohamed Salah, look at the number of lines that are going from and to him to show you how involved he is with their creative process. So almost everything passes through Salah and ends with Salah. And that is a team that has identified their best player and tries to play through him and get the best possible result. But I want us to take notice of this guy, Zizou, and the position that he occupies. When Egypt don't have the ball, he retreats back into midfield on the left-hand side. El Neni sits in the middle, Fatih on the right, and it becomes a 4-3-3. But they are very narrow side. Another thing that I want us to all have in mind. They are very narrow side because in the 4-3-3, Salah and Trezeguet are not hugging the line. They are keeping it very compact. And if anything, you look at the guys out wide. This is the left back in Hamdi. This is the right back in Hani. These are the guys who provide the width. But then again, when they have the ball, because of the lack of pace of these 4, Hegazi, Abdul Mumin, Fatih, and then El Neni, their ability or inability to close down space is very glaring. That's when they are on the ball. So what we saw Mozambique do, especially in the second half of that game, was to allow Egypt to have the ball and lure them into the mid zone. Now, what is that doing? When you're allowing them to easily bypass your first press, or if you're not pressing at all, you get the two slow center-backs further away from their pool. So you see how high they are. And then when they get into the middle zone, you become very aggressive, especially with the second balls. Because once you win it, and if you have pacey forwards, the counter is there to be taken. So I'll show you a typical example on the Mozambique second goal. It was, So we start off from, let me just try and slow the pace so we can all, if I go 0.5, is that slower?
That's slower.
That's slower.
Yeah.
Okay. So we see Hegazi go for a long ball here. Now, in fact, let me pause it and then just look at the shape. So this is Egypt with the ball.
Yeah.
You see Hegazi, the center back, with the ball. That's Hegazi.
Yeah.
Now look at the shape. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is Hani, the left back. This is Zizou, who was gone from his midfield zone onto the right-hand side. This is Mohamed Salah, and then this is Trezeguet. This is Salah, in the midfield zone. But Salah is moving into, so it's almost becoming a front five.
Yeah.
Now, let me continue this and then pause it here. And look at how aggressive Mozambique are going to be on when it comes to the second ball. So this ball is directed to Mustafa Mohamed. He's trying to flick it on to Salah. And if it works, it's danger. Because if it works, they are outnumbering Mozambique in their own defensive zone. But that's where Mozambique's plan worked, being extremely aggressive on the second ball. So we progress play. The flick is on. He just slightly mistimes it. And all of a sudden, Egypt are in trouble. Now, let's look at the central areas of the pitch. Let me progress it a bit so we can see. Here, if you look at the central areas of the pitch, this is the last midfielder in a central area. And this is the first center-back in a central area. So what we are seeing is 1, 2, 3, 4. This entire space is there for Mozambique to exploit. And that is because of Egypt's shape. And remember I mentioned the age and the lack of pace of Egypt's two central midfielders and their center-backs. So they can't close down space as quickly as they would have been able to do a couple of years ago. So we progress the play, and we are going to see how slow Hegazi and Abdul Mumin are. Now this pass comes in, and this move right here is brilliant from my gentleman over here. To play that back pass, he's further opening the space between the lines to allow the man on the ball to be able to pick a pass. Now what he does, he doesn't just open it, he also allows himself to go free of Abdul Mumin. And now Abdul Mumin doesn't know if to track back here, and close the space he's left behind. Or mark him.
Yeah.
So that is a very smart 1-2 move. So you might see, why did he pass the ball back? But all these things, it is the teeny-weeny, tiny details of attacking football. So he passes it back. Now his teammate has an opportunity to hit a pass. And because they know that Egypt, are very high, this is an extremely high line for Egypt, considering the lack of pace of their center-backs. He plays it right into space. And look at how difficult it is for Hegazi. Close your eyes and then suddenly open it. Watch how Hegazi is running. He looks like Maguire. Seriously speaking. Let me just progress it. And look at how he this is typical Harry Maguire. But the lack of pace is clear. And then Mozambique breakthrough.
And the turning is not great.
And the turning also is not great. And Mozambique breakthrough, and then they score. So this is so evident. This shows you how much this shape can work for and against them.
Yeah.
And in saying this, we go to my sweet Black Stars. This is our past map for the game against Cape Verde. And I just want to touch on the fact that, remember that Egypt had 4 attackers when they had the ball, 4 guys in the offensive zone, with Salah adding to the number to make it 5. If we go a back 4, we are dead.
They'll finish us.
Because, and this is the reason why I'm saying this, the Black Stars individually, when it comes to our players' individual defensive ability, especially on the wide areas, they can't handle the technical quality of the Egyptians. Trezeguet wants to have that isolated one-on-one with his defender. That is what he likes. We know Gideon Mensah is not the best when it comes to one-on-one defending. He needs help. So if you are going to isolate, and that's what Egypt are going to do, if they have 1, 2, 3, 4 guys over there isolating our defenders, we're almost in trouble. And for me, that's why I think we should play a back three. But then again, all this talk, you have to apply it. Yeah. And in applying it, you need forward players who are willing to press, win the ball, be aggressive, and then hopefully score. But this is the first time in my life, and I seriously need to touch on that I've seen a pass map that doesn't have any line linking any of the front four. Look at this carefully. This pass here, this line linking, it looks like it's linking Königsdörfer to Semenyo. No. This was Baba, and I hope you can see it on the TV. Yeah. This was Semenyo to Baba and Baba to Semenyo. Now, a pass is basically me passing to you and you passing back to me at least once in the game. There were times when Semenyo gave the ball, Pinsel gave the ball to Semenyo. You get it? There were times when I think it was Königsdörfer who gave. But if that thing doesn't return, or if I give it to you twice and you never give it to me back, it doesn't register as one. So there was no passing combinations at any point in the game against Cape Verde. This is the first time I'm seeing this in my life. Between our front four, and that is telling. Look at how thin our front men are involved in terms of pass combinations. It's all here. Yeah. And that, aside Jordan Ayew, who has a thick partnership with Gideon Mensah, and maybe you can consider the Ashimeru one, which is 7 times. Ayew passed to him 5 times, Ashimeru passed to Ayew twice. It's not the best.
So what you are telling us, that based on this, the Black Stars are more comfortable passing themselves in the back.
In the back.
And in the midfield among themselves than going forward. Which fits squarely into the Chris Hughton is a defensive-minded coach.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And another very telling thing also is, and I always say that numbers will always give you context. When we pick on certain players, this is a structure exposing our players. It's not bringing the best out of them. Yeah. So if you change under this structure, if you put Bukari here, he's going to be as toothless as Pinsel was. If you bring Iñaki here, he's going to be as toothless. Because the structure, first of all, they are so isolated. Look at the gap between them. Yeah. And if you look at Egypt's pass map, which is, look at the distance between Salah and look at the distance between Mustafa Mohamed and then Fati. They are close. So there's always a link, and it's easy to find a man when you pick up the ball. But for our setup, our attackers are too isolated, and it's not helping. So we had what? It was on Sunday. The game was on Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, today's the last training session. I'm hoping against hope that Chris Hughton has done something to rectify that issue. Because you can scout all you want. You can tell where the problem is. If the application is not there, we are dead.
Well, that's Daniel Koranteng there, offering that analysis prior to the game on how Ghana can capitalize on the weaknesses of Egypt. Well, the update is that Ghana is leading by 1-0, and it's courtesy the star boy Mohamed Kudus. And the man himself joins me in studio, and he saw how Ghana scored that goal, and he's been also monitoring the first half of that game. Daniel, what have you monitored in the first half, and what did you observe in that goal that Mohamed Kudus scored?
I think it's safe to say that this is probably the most impressive first half of football that we've seen the Black Stars play since Chris Hughton took over. We knew it was going to be very difficult, especially because of the numbers that Egypt tend to flat forward.
But it's the first time Black Stars are scoring a first half goal under Chris Hughton. Interesting.
So it just shows you. It's evidence of the work that they've put in the first half. What I've been impressed with is their defensive shape and the discipline to stay very compact. We know that if you're facing opposition like Egypt, you can't give them too much space. And especially on the left-hand side with Gideon Mensah and Jordan Ayew, who've done a very good job on Mohamed Salah. And eventually Salah pulled out injured and he can't continue. And from then you could just tell the body language of the Egyptian players dropped. And that's when the Black Stars picked up the momentum. The goal was a very good goal. Started off from the left-hand side. Jordan Ayew surrounded with players, tried to dribble, lost the ball, Then he goes back to press, wins back possession.
Yeah.
The ball falls to Salis, and he locates Kudus, and from then it's simply magic. When you are that good, I always say, look, top players always turn up at the big times. And the skill to get past the opposition player and the quality of the shot, it's almost like you are playing a video game. It was so precise, so crisp, straight into the back of the net. And the Black Stars, it just lifted the spirits of the guys. But especially the defensive shape. Most people tend to watch these games and look at the what if opportunities from an offensive side of things. But when you respect the quality that Egypt have in their offense and you look at how very compact the Black Stars were in that first half, Ofori hasn't had a save to make. The only ball he's touched was a very simple one that was a kick straight at him. So they've been able to nullify the Egyptian attack, and now especially that Salah is off, we are hoping that the Black Stars can continue this and probably get a second.
I mean, just for the Egyptians though, how much of an impact will it have on them with Salah going off injured now? And how can the Black Stars possibly take advantage of that?
Look, we saw from the first game, we've seen from the qualifiers, everything goes through and to Salah. So if you have your best player go off at that particular point in time, it's obviously going to be something that will hurt you. And Ghana scored the goal right when Salah went off. So you could clearly see that. And that's why that's what actually makes me happy. The fact that we took advantage of that drop in concentration from the Egyptians, and now we have a goal to show for the hard work that we've put in the first half. In the second half, we obviously expect Egypt to come at us. And I think that would be a good thing.
That's where even the analysis you make about how the high line and Hegazi's inability to run, that's where we can take advantage of that.
Exactly. And we've fashioned out some one or two good scenarios from that in the first half. But it's how the Black Stars have remained disciplined on and off the ball. It's something that we've not seen in a very, very long time with this team. If you go back to the World Cup against Korea, we were really good, but then we let it slip, conceding 2 goals.
Now that's what we have for you on Prime Sports. For me, Razak Musbao. Do have a lovely evening.